All right, let's get her going here on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, Derek Brandale, Jen Rolnick today. In for 2 jam-packed hours. What a week it's been.
Great week. Not enough games, but what a hockey game last night was.
Well, especially when we've got the Leaf hour of our show all week, just one game, but like things around the game, like there's never been more storylines for one game the whole week.
Is Marno just going to sign a contract by surprise this week?
There is.
Do you think they made an offer to him?
Oh my gosh. You're doing it again. You did this to me Monday.
Do you think they have?
We don't talk about what we discuss, right? We let it just rip the moment the red light goes on. And then
I had no intention of asking that, but
you did this to me Monday.
But I had this thought. I talked to someone today, and I was like, "There's all this like noise around. Yes. Maybe they're talking. Maybe it'll just happen."
I think there's always a possibility of that happening.
Yeah.
But
all right,
like you're not doing this.
No, I'm not.
Although. To be fair, I did write my article this week at the Toronto Star. It was based on our original unscripted, heated discussion on Monday on Mitch Marner. So if you want to grab it, take a look at it.
It's great, by the way.
Well,
not just saying that, it's a very good article.
Well, Sammy liked it because I mentioned his name.
I like that you mentioned it along with like 4 randos from the internet. So that's who he has you on par with.
Yeah, that was kind of fun to do.
Yeah, you know. My mom sees my name in the Toronto Star. It's pretty cool, I guess.
Yes.
But then it's with, what did you say the other guy's name was? I forgot.
Pluto Dog 69, I think.
War Dog and Pluto Boy were just hammering me all week on the internet. And I'm like, all right, you guys want the action? I'm putting you in my article today.
There you go.
Before I muted the tweet that we had on Monday.
I muted it too.
Because I was pouring in there for a while. And then finally, after 3 days of people yelling at each other about it, I muted it. But I do think that it's a pretty divided topic in terms of that's why it's a really great sports radio topic is because people agree with Kip, people agree with Bourne, people agree with me. Like it's just like it's a meeting of toxicity.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Good word.
And if if Mitch wants to go in one way or another, like all these conversations could be irrelevant.
Yeah.
Right?
And, whenever the signing does happen, and we're hoping as people who cover the Leafs that it is a signing here, it's going to be somewhere in the ballpark of the numbers we're talking about, and I think people will be happy to have.
Well, wherever you are watching, listening, Sportsnet 590, The Fan, Sportsnet 360, Sportsnet Plus, we're glad you're along for our Leaf Hour, and then we go national, of course. And in the national hour, we'll welcome in Dana Sinclair, JB, and this is relevant because there's maybe some news out of Elliot Friedman in his 32 thoughts, I believe, about JT Miller.
Yeah.
Possibly suffering from burnout.
Yeah. Burnout was the word that he used. Frank Saravalli vaguely referenced that as well. We had Thatcher Demko. We heard him talking about the mental grind of trying to stay prepared to play. And, Dana's done work with a laundry list of NHL, NBA, MLB, NFL teams, and on. So she'll give us some insight into the mental side of being a professional athlete.
And then at 5:30, we're going to welcome in a good friend of the show. Always been terrific insights. Hockey Night in Canada, Sportsnet, Garry Galley.
That'll be great.
And
Full show.
And Jen said to me, our wonderful TV production woman, she said to me today, she's like, "Did you have him on because Kyper talked about how he hit him?"
Yeah.
And I was like, I completely forgot about that.
Let's not bring that up. Let's see. Hopefully, he never watched the show.
Because I
made the
felt
apology. It's
I
in
felt
the
bad. I
universe.
was like, I didn't even think of that. I just have him on because he's great, and we have him on once a month or so.
Nothing's changed.
I know,
since we
but
had
he
him
said
on.
yes, and he was happy to come on. So, anyways,
Galley's aware of what happened.
Yes.
Is he? No, he's not. He doesn't watch our show.
Well, I don't know about
I
the
hope he didn't
apology,
watch
but he's
that.
aware that you hit him, and he came on
No, he
cordially
is.
for years.
I don't know. But I still feel horrible about it. I'm just going to be in a puddle. It's like, yeah, that bothered me for 28 years.
We may have another.
Finally, I get to tell you you're an ass.
I'm gonna Homer Simpson into the bushes for that one.
Okay. Leaf fans are waiting.
Yes, I know.
3-0 win last night over one of those contending teams for the Stanley Cup.
Best game of the year.
Vegas Golden Knights. Their third straight win. Woll makes 31 saves. Minton scores. Bob's your uncle. Leafs are on a roll.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the action was high. The physical element was sort of like that underlying storyline. The rookies being up and being involved was a big part of it. Joseph Woll gets a shutout. That was a big theme. Probably the bigger picture takeaway is Knies, but I mean, I guess they get a shutout with 6 of their top 12 forwards out.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive performance all around.
Yeah, favorite game of the year.
Yeah.
Yep. Like, you take the Tampa game that we talked about for 3 weeks down off the pedestal.
Yeah.
And you put this one in here. I think the shiny new toy factor is definitely part of it, where it's just a really fun game where Minton scores his first goal of his career. It ends up being the winner. You have Grabankin running around. You have fights. You have big hits. You have debate. Everything about it, to me, was just the best game of the year. Also, Joseph Woll made me look like the biggest idiot of all time. Doing sports talk radio is so hard because you have a take and it's like 6 hours later, you're immediately the biggest idiot on earth.
I've told you plenty of times.
Yeah.
You don't need Joseph Wall's help for that. Okay, you do that all by
Fair.
take full
But-
credit.
Fair.
No, but
Fair.
hold on. You didn't come on here and say you think Woll's a bad goalie
No.
or he's going to play bad.
No, I didn't say that.
You
Yeah.
just said it's a top team. Put your top goalie in.
I did say that.
That's what you said.
And they may have.
No.
He looked pretty good.
Man, this guy rides the roller coaster, doesn't he?
Okay, so we could take this many different ways.
Yes.
We've got some Kippers, Clippers, a ton of them out of Coach Berube. You want to start with the kids. You want to start with Joseph Woll. You want to get into the hit.
I think we start positive. It's a good night, I think.
Yeah.
And before we get into the hit, let's talk about the kids. Fraser Minton scoring a goal. I thought 2 really impressive back checks on rushes against.
Yeah.
On the penalty, on the power play.
One on the,
Yes.
that one. And then there's another one where the puck doesn't come to his guy because he gets back and covers him. So I thought he was wonderful. Grabankin plays with a joy, too. That's fun to watch.
Yeah, I thought we had a pretty good conversation yesterday on the kids and on the chance that they could come in and provide something that
Last
could perhaps change the way you might feel towards February and March in a trade deadline. And we didn't say it's impossible to think that they could turn themselves into, we just said it might not be probable. But did anything last night change your mind in terms of what Minton can do for the center ice position for the Maple Leafs?
Yes, absolutely. I maintain the stance I took yesterday that when you're talking about playing the best teams in the postseason, I don't love the idea of looking at a rookie and saying, you're the guy who's going to be our guy at the deadline. They're already talking. Elliot also mentioned 32 Thoughts that the Leafs would be looking at centers.
Yes.
So that's in play here too. But I do think the way Minton looked both ways was really eye-opening and very mature was a pretty common word. And then my other thought is if you need a winger on the 4th line just to run into people, Grabankin will do it.
Yeah, I would imagine watching Grabankin play last night wasn't Ryan Reeves' favorite thing from the press box. Where,
Not another one.
it's a young guy that comes in there. He's a big guy, skating hard, running into people. I mean, he's not the prettiest skater. Let's all say it.
He looks like if Mark Stone pulled his hamstring when he's skating.
It's not the prettiest
No.
stride, I would say, but he's big, strong, runs into people, seemingly not afraid.
Having a blast.
Having a blast. It's just, anyways, go ahead, Kip.
Okay, let's go to Craig Berube with our first Kippers Clipper of the day on Minton and Grabankin.
Yeah, I thought they were good. I mean, Minton scored, I get that, but, I thought both players were pretty solid out there. Minton's Minton's a very smart player. He's a real good two-way guy and very reliable defensively and in the right spots. And I thought Grabankin battled hard. He was physical, did what he had to do, strong on pucks down low, finishing checks. All the things that I thought he was going to do.
Oh, what do you got there?
That to me, when I'm hearing that, like putting guys in there and having them do what you expect them to do at that age, if you're the coach, you're like, yeah, okay. Like I can see where these guys are going to be a contributor for me throughout this season. Like
Grabankin led the team in hits last night with 4.
Do we have him? Did you clip him?
I did clip him. This was Grabankin after the game. Clip from him there, Derek.
Team speak me back check, forward check, and paycheck.
Buddy, I love his laugh because it's almost as obnoxious as mine.
I hear you, man.
If he was my teammate, I would hang with him all day just to try to make him laugh.
Yeah, Joe's.
I said on Leafs Talk last night that was a rather big win, and I could picture them going to an establishment with Grabankin and having some fun last night.
Yeah.
Getting him laughing a little bit, having some fun.
Yeah,
Because
that's
he
great.
seems like a great guy to be around,
Yeah.
doesn't he?
He does.
He'd be the worst leader on any team.
Yeah. Me?
Grabbing
This guy
a
seems
young
fun.
kid,
Let's
take
go
him
get
to a
drunk.
bar. Let's go have
Oh,
fun.
my
Let's get
God.
him
Kipper, what are you
drunk.
Like, what are you,
You're no leader.
Come on, Sammy.
The shame
You
you
tell
must
him
feel.
to go straight home to bed.
This is embarrassing.
What would Mark
guys.
Messier have
This
done?
is embarrassing.
Minton played almost 16 minutes last
Well,
night.
that with Knies out of the game, he
Yeah.
stepped right up and
My first thought was, has Robertson ever?
no. Listen, Nick, you got to get it out of your heads that Nick's
Let's just not even.
there for a chance to still be a part. Like Nick's done a wonderful job, but it will never work here. He just has to look at last night how many guys are ahead of him. Minton now would be ahead of him,
Grabankin, Steves,
right?
Holmberg.
So he's not going to be envisioned in the top 6. And the kids that Sammy just mentioned will beat him out on the bottom 6. There's just no room other than hopefully there's a package somewhere and you can move them on.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the writing's on the wall.
I do too.
If they weren't missing 6 forwards, I think he probably wouldn't be playing. You know, I think that's fair to
They're
say.
missing 6 guys. This guy can't get in the top 6.
Give him a look-see.
It's great.
No looksies for him.
No looks.
They've looked and seen
where
enough.
Where do you want to go?
All right.
Yeah, let's get to the hit.
No, wait, one more, because if we're going to stay positive like
Okay.
you want to,
Yep.
the most impressive thing for me last night was going into the third period with a lead
Yeah.
and absolutely giving Vegas squat. So let's listen to Craig Berube on the composure that they had with the lead.
Clip 8.
How happy are you with the composure your team is showing in the third period of close games?
Yeah, I'm very happy. I think, there's games where we got the lead in the third, and we kind of sit back a little bit. But tonight was, I thought, our best third with the lead. We didn't sit back, and that's what we want to keep pushing and keep doing because, we don't want to just get pucks out and try to get a change. You know what I mean? We want to advance it, play the game, keep being aggressive, and we did that. Drew a penalty, and power play did a great job of scoring a goal there. That was a huge goal. So I thought tonight was maybe our best third period with the lead.
They didn't take their foot off the pedal.
Mm-hmm.
And in the past, we'd see them hold on or cough up the lead.
Yeah.
And that was not in their vocabulary last night.
Yeah, I got a couple thoughts. One of which is that sometimes in these sort of mid-season games, having young guys and people like playing above where they normally slot in, you get these great efforts where, if you have your full roster, guys kind of take their foot off the gas a little bit. I thought it helped them last night having those guys because everyone stayed fully engaged and fully pushing. The other thing is, I think you forget sometimes when you watch the Maple Leafs, watching the ages of the core guys that they're now in their prime, and watching Willie Nylander at age 27 or 8 or whatever he is, and Marner too last night, but Nylander in particular last night, he's ready for the next league if there were one above it. He made Alex Pietrangelo look like me on defense.
Yeah.
There's just those guys can really control games at a level that not many can.
Yeah, I think it's fun to talk about how great the young guys were and how you get the great contributions from the defense core and Woll makes some great saves. But Nylander scores 1, sets 1 up. Tavares has 2 assists. Marner has 2 assists. It's still the same
They're playing
guys.
22 minutes
It's
a
still
night.
the same guys driving the bus here.
Yeah.
And they were brilliant. All 3 of those guys last night I thought were brilliant. Marner, Tavares, and Nylander.
Tavares hit 2 posts. And the other thing is just their defense is so much better. Benoit was better.
Yeah.
Way better. Best game of the year for Benoit.
All right, let's get to the meat.
All right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Waited long enough.
Matthew Knies left the game with an upper body injury at 7:59. It was a huge open ice hit from Zach Whitecloud. Let's get an update from Craig Berube. Clip 9. Derek.
Not bad. I mean, still being evaluated and looked at, but actually feeling okay today, which is good news.
Good. That's great.
Okay, so I'm like everybody else. You're like everybody else. We're watching this thing, and we see it. And I got to tell you, I feel for the guys in the booth.
For sure.
Right? Whether it's Kyper, whether it's our good pal Simmer, whether it's Joe Bowen. Like, you may see it once or twice, but you don't have the luxury of revisiting a lot of things. Like, even say, like our panel this night with David Amber and Sam and
Colby.
and
Gaz.
Colby and Gaz. Okay, so they get a chance to absorb it, and whatever feelings that you could have in the first minute and a half, 5 minutes, 10, 20. Now all of a sudden, I know Sam made a call to the league. He gets a pretty probably in-depth perspective or rules or whatever, and he passes it on, and then he just says whatever they said on air, and it kind of calms all the waters down. Right. And I've done it. But it's easy for Sam to get on the phone.
Here's what they
What's
said.
hard is coming up with an opinion of your own without any type of influence, right?
Yeah.
And that's hard. We've been around the game a long time. My first instinct was he's done, right? Because you see a guy down on the ice, you see one replay where he's definitely hitting the head.
Yeah.
Right? So what's our first thought? Hit to the head, maybe an illegal check, he's done. But that's not the case. It's much deeper and it's much more complex. And I think people sat there today and said, first and foremost, do I know the rules? Do I know what the rules according to what the league is trying to dictate? Or do I just say, yeah, it's a head hit, let's get him out of the game? What are your thoughts?
I think that there is a broad spectrum of hits when you're looking at hits to the head and hits to the body. It's not like there's some clean division. There's borderline ones, whatever. And we have to draw a line somewhere and say, this is illegal, but there's going to be hits that are right close to that line, and this one falls close to that line for me. I think I would rule the same way the league did on this particular hit.
So last night, you and JD, our good friend JD Bunkus, go on for Leaf Talk, and you had some time to absorb it, but you felt like it was a bad hit, correct?
This is what kills me about it, because I've been watching hockey my whole life, and for most of my life, that's an awesome hit, and it's one that gets you out of your seat, and that's a huge part of the game, right? And it's like, oh, it's a huge hit, open ice, bang, bang, there it is. I just think by today's standards, when you look at the way it's refereed and you look how careful they are with some of these headshots, I think for them to go to the iPad, spend 25 minutes, like I always love, looking at all these different angles and determine that the head contact wasn't severe in that play, and for the Leafs to end up on a 4-minute penalty kill is a joke. Like, I truly can't believe that they spent all that time. And listen, do I think it's a horrible, do you think it's a bad hit? No. But I think by today's standards and the way that the game's officiated and the way that they're trying to get that should have been a 5-minute major match penalty. He's out of the game, and then that's good. That's done, no suspension, whatever. But
so
in that moment,
you would rather them do that and then the next day say we were wrong, we were too severe. Or would you rather, and it wasn't 25 minutes, by the way.
They were over there a while.
Okay. It wasn't 25
Yeah, but they're
minutes.
they're freeze framing and they're
the whole
slowing it
idea,
down.
the whole idea is whether it's 1 minute or 25 to your exaggeration.
Yes.
Didn't we say the most important thing is to get the call right?
Yeah, and I think they didn't.
But I still haven't heard from you, did they?
Yeah, they did. They did make the right call. And listen, I'm like everybody else. I don't want to see guys get hurt. But if you, according to what they want, they don't want to get those big hits out of the game. They don't. They love them, guys. I got news for you. They love them. Okay? But they have to be really tight and follow a pretty strict set of guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
And according to the general managers and the rules committee and the league office and everybody else, like Rule 48 is fairly tight in terms of what needs to be seen. And I think it followed many of the criteria that they've asked over the last few years. And you're allowed to hit the head. Like, people, just think about that for a second. It's not against the rules to body check
This is not the IIHF.
the head,
Right.
as long as it's not picked.
Yes.
As long as it's not
Like Reeves on Nurse.
like Reeves on Nurse. And I know JD, I didn't listen to you last night, but I
Well,
saw a clip where he said, what's the difference?
It's a centimeter away from the exact same thing.
But
You can argue that for sure, but it isn't.
No,
Yeah.
it's not a centimeter.
Well,
It
I
was
mean,
not.
He
It was not even close.
he accelerated
JD, I
up-
love you, buddy.
he accelerated up
But
into the.
It's
in-
not close to Reeves.
To me, it is. And I don't know how you can watch both the hits and not have it be a similar
Well,
thing.
one guy's left spinning and the other guy falls on his
Yeah.
back.
So if Knies gets cut and he's lying on the ice and they bring out the stretcher, then what happens?
Well, nothing. I don't think that played into
Nothing.
here.
Nothing changes.
To me,
Okay.
skates are on the ice until he's done with the impact. Elbows tucked. The contact is trying to go through the body and the head's involved for sure. But
It's
Unfortunately
completely
for-
north-south.
Yeah.
Right?
skating this way.
One
ends up
guy's
on his
north,
back.
the other guy's south. Reeves is north. Nurse Saturday night is west. Nurse does not come through the body. Nurse misses the body and hits the head first. There's a shot where Reeves, by the time Reeves gets to the left side of Reeves' body, his head is turned right around. He looked like the owl from Winnie the Pooh. His head was so far around. I cannot
Jeez.
believe that
Okay.
Reeves didn't break his neck.
Yeah.
It was ugly.
I'd like to clarify. I'm laughing at the reference, the obscure
Yeah,
reference.
I'm sorry. I just thought of an owl,
Yes,
the way he
yes.
can turn his neck.
Yeah.
But it was scary.
Yeah.
That was not Knies. Knies was right through the middle of the body, and there was no whiplash. There was nothing.
The other part of this to me is we're talking, I started this by saying there's the spectrum of hits or whatever, and this is on that line. I'm going to read you the NHL's Department of Player Safety mission statement. To make the game as safe as possible for players while preserving the physical, competitive, and passionate nature of hockey. To your point, they want this. And let's be clear, on this show, we want this.
Listen, I don't want to sit here and argue with you guys because you're making great points, but I just don't know how you sit here and watch the angles of this and not have it be the principal point. The first thing he hits is his head.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. I'm
It's
watching it right here.
He's going
It can
through.
be the first. It can't be picked.
Thank you. Yeah. It is a full center of the shoulders body check. It can't be more body. Does he get his head first? It doesn't say head first on it. So if you go to Rule 48, it says that there are a set of circumstances, whether the players attempt to hit squarely through the opponent's body and if the head was not picked as a result of poor timing. Did Whitecloud have poor timing?
No.
Okay. Did he have a poor angle of approach?
No.
I mean, jumping up and throwing your elbow into his
hold on.
chin is not a great approach. I wouldn't say.
No, we're talking about the angle.
Okay, but
Okay.
Is angle going straight up like that? Is that a good angle?
Just
Oh,
angle.
now you're
he
just lying.
did. He did.
Angle.
I'm watching it right here.
It does, Sam. You cannot say his elbow comes
Or-
up prior to his head.
Or unnecessary extension. Did you see an unnecessary
Yes.
extension? Where?
What his arm ends
That's
up like this?
after contact. That's after contact.
After contact. Not
He's
before.
not extending
It's
into
not, It
contact.
was not a chicken wing. There was no space between his arm and the side of his body before contact.
Okay. I don't know what else I can say here.
Yeah.
It's too, like
It's
you guys.
okay.
You guys are
It's okay.
reading the rule book and looking at me, and it's 2 against 1. There's nothing I can say. But he launched his shoulder into the guy's chin while jumping off the ice with an upward motion.
With you. I think a lot of people agree with you.
And it just, it's, there's just a different standard. That hit has been, it's.
If that's McCabe on Whitecloud, I think it's a different conversation. I think,
sure.
Sure. Yeah.
I also think that there's a lot of people that if this was somebody on the Leafs that threw the hit, they'd be like, oh, that's dirty. Get him out of the game.
For sure.
Get him. Like, there's a big time Leafs bias here where everybody wants to go on Twitter and dunk all over the Leafs fans for being soft for one of their best young guys getting targeted, getting hammered in the head. And everybody gets so bent out of shape about anything the Leafs does. And as soon as one guy gets hit hard, oh, they're soft for thinking it's a bad hit. Oh, this, all that. Like, it's just such a double standard when it comes to covering the Leafs. It is. Like, it just is. That's the way people feel, and it's not wrong.
You got to get George Peros on the show.
No. He would never come on with me.
We have.
What kind of producer are you?
Intermittently been
what
hard
kind
on
of
him.
producer are you?
Listen, I don't want to.
Despise that dude.
I don't want to talk to him. What do I have to say to him?
Oh, I think you have plenty to say.
Well, I don't think this is a suspension.
Start with what's with the Maple Leaf bias.
I don't think this is a suspension.
We have a couple of quotes on this. Why don't we start with clip 2? Berube, get the coach's thoughts on what he saw.
How was Matthew, and what was your view of the hit?
Yeah, he's upper body right now. We'll see tomorrow. I think tomorrow I'll tell more. My view of the hit, I mean, it's a tough call. I'm not going to sit here and comment on the league. And, they thought it was a clean hit, so it's a clean hit. I mean, there's nothing we can comment on. Really, there's nothing to say.
Well, and then we're going to have him say more.
Yeah, I don't know if you got to revisit the rule, tighten it up, but it does appear like there's upward motion, but
that's coming up into it.
Totally.
Isn't it?
Like we were taught to bend our knees
and launch your shoulder into a guy's chin and knock him out of the game. Good play.
I mean,
like that's
I didn't see that, Sammy. I did not see launch. I didn't see launch.
The same play then. Like you're just
we
watching.
Are watching the same
You're doing
play.
the same thing that everybody else is doing then, where it's like, oh, it's a Leaf. Like, oh, I don't want to be seen as pro Leafs. I don't want to be seen as this. I don't want to be seen as that. And everybody just takes the opportunity to run around and be like, oh, that's a good hit. That's a good hit. Meanwhile, if Knies did that, they'd be like, kick him out of the league. He'd be suspended for 6 games. Everybody would be pissed off at him for being a dirtbag. It's the truth.
There's a Leaf double standard is the case. I don't know if that's true or not.
I think it's all through coverage. Yeah. I think anywhere you cover the league, there's a double standard with the Leafs.
Well,
where people don't want to be seen.
Last night you got Cuthbert, Simpson. They both thought it was a bad hit.
Yeah.
Gaz, after I was on Sportsnet Central saying bad hit.
Yeah.
Joe
Bowen and Ralphie thought it was a bad hit.
Yeah.
We do not agree.
But I just had to go through and see every ex-player being like, why is this even a topic? Why is this even a topic? Oh, it's an idiot. You're soft. This and that. It's like.
We do have another Berube on this. Is there anything there?
It's just more of the same.
More of the same.
Quite honestly.
I don't know how we can ask the guys to body check and not think at some point the head's going to come into contact.
Do we have the hit? Can
this is what breaks. We could show the hit, but this is what breaks my heart about it because I've gone through he jumps up into the chin.
We're all seeing what we want to see, right? Like it's to me that's right between his shoulders, lands on his back.
That is
which makes for great radio.
As square north-south as you can get.
All right.
Okay. And listen, I don't want to pile on here, but I've watched Matthew Knies since he's come in on a number of occasions.
Yes.
And we've had these conversations, and you have too, Sammy, where it's like, he's lucky he didn't get hurt there.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of what saved him is that he's a giant. And that happened to be the Whitecloud's a giant, too.
You can get away in college being a giant, but you can't get away in the NHL like that. Eventually, it catches up to you. I don't know. It's not that his head was down. He's just looking.
He knows he's there. He just doesn't think that hit's going to get thrown.
He's looking at the space where either he thinks he's going to get the puck through or he's going to skate through. But he had blinders on.
Yep. And just like Reeves on Saturday. Reeves and Nurse on Saturday night. The exact same situation where he had blinders on too. coming around the net with his head down. It's the same thing.
I don't see the comparison.
I think for
Well, I
me,
mean, both of them
Knies is
putting
worse.
themselves in
Knies
the
is-
situation.
That's sure.
But the angles are different. So that was more out of a blind side. Like there's a blind spot I think Nurse had on Reeves. There's no blind side for Knies. He's right in front. You're just not focused in the right areas, and you got hit hard because of it.
Mhm.
So
Like
let's hope he's okay, but I hope it's also a learning lesson for Matthew Knies.
So go ahead.
Right,
You
no,
wanna
no,
finish
no.
your thought?
Well, the last thing I'll say on this is that ultimately, I don't think this is a war crime. Like, I don't think it's the worst hit that I've ever seen. But by today's standard, midway through a game, I think a guy could have got thrown out of a game for that.
And Simone Benoit, actually, that's almost exactly what Gazdick said. Just like throw him out of the game in that case.
See, I hate that.
Why?
That bugs me because it's like you want to play safe. No, get the call right. That's what we changed things for, to get it right, not for you just to bypass it because it makes you feel better.
Well,
get
no.
it right.
Well, yeah.
The right call was made.
Yeah, I don't agree.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You know
All right.
who? You know
There's
who,
all the people on text line saying you're arguing with two former NHLers about how they wouldn't know what a hit is.
No.
People are killing me for it. But
It's-
guess what?
This is
I
the
don't
way,
think it was a
this is the way
clean
the
hit.
general managers and the players want it, Sammy. Okay? Not you or everybody else who says what you're saying. It's their sport. It's their rules. We're just interpreting it. That's all. And you
Okay.
don't agree with them.
I don't.
So lobby to change the rules.
I'm not going to do that.
you
Ever.
want the hits.
I want the hits. But I just, by
Okay,
today's
you know what that's called? Having your cake and eat it too,
But-
my friend.
But by today's standards, flying elbow to the chops probably should be the rest of the game.
All right. Well,
Whose standards?
All right. All
You're
right.
making standards up.
But I mean, I watch guys get thrown out of games for headshots in this league. Like they talk about not wanting concussions and all that stuff. And anyways,
Okay.
We have
sufficient yelling.
Sufficient yelling for
Okay,
today.
good.
We have Simone Benoit, who jumps in after that hit, grabs Whitecloud and kind of, gave him the business a little bit. I thought Benoit was back to being the Benoit of last year for them last night. That sort of play makes me wonder if Hakanpää is even going to be the answer. I don't know what you guys thought of having him jump in after that, but the standing up for a guy after a borderline hit.
I didn't have an issue with anybody last night. And, when I'm starting to see John Tavares grab guys and throw them on the ice, I'm like,
God, didn't you just want to just go a bit
hey,
further there?
JT.
Luckily, I wear this magical amulet.
Would have been nice to see that a few times when you had the C on.
Maybe he's freed up his left a little bit.
I gotta say, the captain's over even bratwurst. I mean, this guy's the captain.
He had a night last night. He
was
really
awesome.
Yeah, he's
and
been
he
effective.
jumps in, he's grabbing guys. I was like, okay.
What a strange one too. OEL launches the guy into the boards. Tavares
Who
grabs
was
him.
that guy that just went swan diving the second he felt any contact? Who was that? 21?
Howden?
Yeah, maybe Howden. But no, I is super impressed with how. Remember after that Boston game last year, when was it Liljegren that got taken into the boards by Marchand?
Yeah, and we did the game, and Kip went on the air and talked about not liking the.
And how no one responded, and then Keefe went out in the media and talking about how we're gonna have a meeting to talk about how to respond about these things.
Did.
Remember that?
I do.
And now it's just like it's just happens.
Yeah.
And what is that? Is that I don't know. Is the coach? I don't know if it's that.
And when it's all
Years
said and
of
done,
education.
outside of like anything that happened, that in itself is probably the thing that stood out most is that the game got a lot more physical, a lot more emotional after the Knies, and the Leafs were very comfortable playing in that environment,
It's a big boy game.
right?
It's a lot of physicality.
Before we go to break, let's listen to clip 7. Berube talking about team toughness without Ryan Reeves.
I know Rebo's not in, and Max isn't in, but guys, they didn't shy away from it. I thought that we initiated early with the physicality, and they're a physical team too. They're a big team, but we didn't shy away from it.
No, they did not. Okay, catch your breath time, Sammy.
Yeah. God, I'm getting.
Still love us? Still love
Horrible
us?
text.
Oh my God.
We still friends?
I'm just taking a beating.
Will we golf?
This show rules.
Listen.
By April, will we golf again?
I love this. Why do you think I do this? Like, there's nothing you can say to me that hasn't already been said, boys.
All right, if that's the case, plenty more to get into with Sammy after the break. You're watching and listening to Real Kyper and Bourne. Welcome back in to our Leaf Edition hour of the Real Kyper and Bourne show. Nick, Justin, Sammy.
Got
in.
It's been a contentious week on the show.
Out with bad air. In with good air. Out with bad air, Sammy.
I'm good, bud. I love it. I love it.
What are your buds telling you?
Oh, I'm just trying not to look at the text. Somebody sent me a tweet. I don't know who it is. Put your diaper on, bud, with a big clown.
The internet so much.
Oh my gosh. Somebody sent me like rule 0.76 on head contact, and I'm like,
Is that Hockey Canada?
Is that minor hockey? Is that
not the NHL?
WIIF?
Listen, I saw
Whatever
that.
the letters are, I
Whatever
don't
the
think it's
letters
relevant.
I saw it, and I was going to bring it. I was going to I need this bad today, and it's not the right
It's not
rule.
NHL.
No, it's not the right
It's
rule.
not the NHL, pal.
right
I'm
rule.
sorry.
It's not the right rule.
Not. Yeah. Everybody. It's Rule 48.
Yeah.
We all know that
Mm.
because we've seen it 1,000 times.
Yeah,
Well,
too
I
much.
shouldn't say that. I
Not
shouldn't say
anymore.
that.
We used to.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Outside of Trouba, like how many guys? See, the one thing I can tell you, and you've been at a very high level too, like those hits are really hard. They're hard to make, and they've got to be timed incredibly well.
Mm-hmm.
There's only a certain amount of time and space that you have to pull them off.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're wrong, you can get hurt just as bad, or even worse, you can be embarrassed beyond belief.
Yeah, once you commit to one of those and someone suddenly shifts spots, you're like, yeah, you can.
You're cooked.
Yeah.
So they don't.
Tough to get
They
right.
aren't happening very often.
No comment.
Let's. How about a very big story from the game last night, Joseph Woll?
Yes, where
Yeah.
Sammy was wrong again yesterday.
Tough week.
Right?
I love it. That's great.
But Woll, I mean, what did he make? 30 saves last night, give or take?
Yeah, he's up there.
I can probably find that stat immediately.
Second career shutout.
31 saves.
And second career shutout. So let's get what clip is it off of Joseph Woll?
Yeah, he was excellent. Like, I mean, the second period, they made a pretty good push there, and they had control of the play quite a bit in our zone. I thought we were a little, pushed back at that time, but he came up big for us, and that's big. It's keeps you in the game, and then our third period was excellent.
Yeah. So Woll now goes to a 922 save percentage. Stolar's at a 927. Boys, going into this year, did you think you'd have, two top 10 goalies in the NHL by save percentage?
Like zero chance. of that
Zero.
happening.
These two tendies.
I thought maybe one.
Yeah.
Right? I thought Joe Woll would probably be in that range. They made the $11 million contract commitment to him. You think that they think he's a pretty good goalie,
Yeah.
despite his injury history. But Stolarz is the real surprise. But yeah, this now, you look at it, is a real advantage for the first time probably in the Matthews era.
Yeah, I think it was you who said it to me that stood out was not only do you feel like you can hang with the other team, but like it's actually a leg up.
Yeah.
Like you go into the game being like, all right, we've got that position over them. So
Listen, it's a nice feeling to think that you can be outplayed and still have a great chance to win.
Yeah.
And there's only one guy that can really pull that off, and that's your goalie.
well, and last night shots are what, 26-12 at one point when the Leafs are up 1-0? Like I don't remember exactly what they were when it was really lopsided, but he kept them in there when it wasn't going their way. What are your thoughts on how much the goaltending's success has to do with the changes on D, with actual different personnel in front of them?
Well, the block shots are off the charts, and Tanev's going to set a record.
Well, they have 26 last night?
Like,
Is that right?
It's huge.
Jeez.
Yeah.
He commented on that somewhere along the way too, but he noticed. He mentioned Steven Lorentz. We actually have Lorentz talking about that on his Shot Blocks clip one.
Yeah, 3 times. Yeah, 2 in the same shift. But I was channeling my inner Timmy Brent there with a few blocks. But yeah, no, it definitely didn't feel too good. But it's always worth it when when the guys come through and you get a big 3-0 win, a shutout for Woller. So it was just a good team effort all around.
Tim Brent.
I have to say, him referencing Tim Brent is the most passionate thing anyone's ever done for the Leafs.
It's like mid 2000s.
Tim Brent, number 37.
What way did he shoot?
Oof, good question. Maybe left, actually.
Right.
Right?
You got it. Here, I'm doing a quick search here. Kipper's correct. Right shot. He's my age.
I
means he's
remember
40,
nothing about
41.
him, but I remember he shot right.
But there was one particular play that he was referencing, and this is stuff I remember, but I think it was against Carolina, and it was a 5-on-3, and Tim Brent was the only guy out there, the only forward, and he was like flying around like a goalie, and he must have blocked 5 shots on one shift.
So Tim Brent played.
I can't believe
He's not in Gregory Campbell.
it was like that without
territory.
without a broken leg, basically.
He played 1 year. He played for the one game for the Leafs in 09-10 and 79 for the Leafs in 10-11, scoring 8 and 12 for 20 points.
You know what's going to be interesting for me in the next week is, again, lighter schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Utah Sunday, at Florida Wednesday. So tell me, Woll Sunday, Stolarz Wednesday, or Stolarz Sunday and Stolarz Wednesday? Because I'm not sure I want Joseph Woll not playing again in a week.
God, Stolar's last game was November 16th. Today's the 21st. So now you're talking about the 24th and presume, what is it, 26th or 7th or something like that?
Give me a call here.
I want Stolarz back in the net. He needs to get back in. So he's playing on Sunday. And then, you're going to Woll in Florida.
Weather vane McKee here, but guy gets a shutout. You probably have to start him the next game, no?
I don't know. It depends if you got the zoomed out view of just trying to keep everyone going.
But Stolarz Wednesday, no question, regardless of what happens against his former team. That has to happen. That's a start. That's a start. That start. He's got that start.
See,
you need to give him that start.
I tend to agree with Sam that it would be nice if, like, you have to start separating yourself for the Leafs
In the division. Oh, you can't start pressing for wins now.
No, I'm not saying that you need to press for wins, but what I'm saying is that if you want to win the division, start with beating the team that you think you need to beat.
Prioritize the Wednesday. Okay, I'm in. I think
Are you following me?
I'm actually sold between him having played there, this being your direct competition, Stolarz is in Wednesday.
Under different circumstances, I would say if you need to go Stolarz on Sunday and then back to Woll Wednesday, no problem. Except you want to beat them.
But
you want to win the division.
This all lines up perfectly because, to Sam's point, guy gets a shutout. Really, it's not Hockey Night in Canada. It's a Sunday against Utah. You give him the next game, say keep going. Stolarz then is 11 days between games, which might sound scary, but he was a backup goalie forever. He's gone long times between games and was wonderful as a backup.
So you can go Woll and then Stolarz Wednesday.
Yeah. I thought that the start on Sunday night was a Woll start anyway. That's kind of your 1B kind of start, backup kind of start. So you give him that one and then go into Wednesday. But it's a real luxury here, fellas. Like Woll last night gave me game 5-6 vibes.
God, he was so good in those games.
And it just, when he's on, it's so boring. Like him and Stolarz have such different styles. Like I'm no goalie expert. I'm not Valaquette. But Woll is just hits him, stops, not sliding around, not flying around, just very solid, very good positionally. And when he's on, it looks really easy. And last night it looked easy.
Did we play the Ruby clip or am I?
On Woll?
Yeah.
We did.
I don't see it.
The Kipper's rubbing off on you, buddy.
Buddy, I took some head hits too. I was on the other end of a lot of Matthew Knies hits. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Anybody get kicked out of the game for him?
They got ejected from life. Actually, back when I played, highly encouraged.
Yeah.
Why do we have a clip on the convenience store 7-Eleven?
Oh, I meant to put 11 and 7 potential.
This is like asking your mom what the score is, and she says it's 0-2.
It was dumb by me. Okay, I'm just taking a beating. I still got to do this read, and I'm just like, you guys are going
to do the read today.
No, I'll do it.
No. I've challenged him.
You have
to be better.
That's good. Sometimes you need that. Grab him by the collar
to feed the kids.
So We got not much time, several clips. What do you want to hear? Do you want to hear 11 and 7? You want to talk Matthews?
Let's just hear the two quick Matthews updates.
All right. 12, please.
Like I said, I think, everything went well. Like he's actually improving and in a real good spot right now going forward. So we're very happy with that.
And the 13, the second one.
Do you have a sense when he might skate again?
We could, I still don't know that. Maybe this weekend.
We had our Sheldon Keefe waffling drop.
Battle.
Can that be our new Berube?
So, I guess
Why didn't they ask? Is he back? Is he back? That would be the question. Is he here?
Yeah, he's back.
He's back.
They went to Reeves to get a comment on him, and they shut him down and said he's unavailable till the suspension ends.
Reeves?
And Reeves said to them, "I'll see you in 2.5 weeks."
Where'd he go?
Well, he can't talk to the media.
Yeah, but where did he go? Did he leave? Like, is it he'll see you in 2.5 weeks, or talk to the media?
Talk,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. But we don't have to be there every day like a lot of these guys. I can get their frustration on not, to Sammy's point, on being so coy with Matthews and not making Reeves available to even discuss, where he's at and what he thought of the hit. And like, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard for some of the media to think that they've got a story they can't get to.
One thought on Matthews and his potential return. If I'm him, looking down the schedule and going, could be back on the Wednesday, and I get to Florida.
No, I'm good.
I'm like, you know what? I might be better just a few days later than
Tampa. Tampa next Saturday night. That's a
just
perfect
not
return.
really looking to play Sam Bennett my first game back.
You guys good for me to read?
Yes.
Great
All right.
for you to read.
Good luck.
Here we go now. Who wants to win a bunch of cash while doing the best this holiday season? It's the Sportsnet 590 The Fans 50-50 fortune supporting food for kids. Here's what you need to know. We've created a 50-50 lottery where the more money we raise, the more kids we can feed in the GTA, and the more you can win. The current take-home prize is $171,000. Someone is going to win that jackpot on Thursday, December 19th. And if you get your tickets early, there are a bunch of amazing early bird prizes, including a pair of tickets to Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour, this Saturday night, courtesy of Rogers. Get your tickets by Friday at 9 a.m. for your chance to win. For more details and to buy your tickets, go to foodforkids5050.ca or text the word cash to 590-590, and we'll send the link right to your phone. It's the 50-50 fortune supporting food for kids. Standard message and data rates apply. Ontario only.
Was that flawless?
Way to go,
No,
Sam. That
no,
was
no.
unbelievable.
No, there's a couple flaws.
No, much better,
Smooth,
my friend.
smooth,
It's really important
smooth.
that we end this on a positive.
You guys got to build me up.
No, you're good.
You guys gotta build
You're
me
good. We'll get Dr. Dana Sinclair to build you
Yeah,
up
that's
on
great.
the National
You got a
Hour.
performance coach coming.
Performance coach.
And you guys will be thrilled to know that our Sportsnet 590 The Fan X account just tweeted out the debate of us talking about Knies' hit from Whitecloud.
Yeah.
So we'll
Get
see on
ready
the
to
other
mute
side.
that one too. Good job to our social team.
Thanks,
Well done.
guys.
That'll be fun.
Okay.
Do you think Matthews comes back when? What games do you want to come back?
It doesn't matter. They don't need him. Take your time.
I actually think
they're
them winning
rocking and
does help
rolling.
them. I wonder if they were losing, if he'd be back.
41-20-2 with a 50+58 goal differential without Austin Matthews.
All right.
The update.
Humming.
Our thanks to Sammy McKee this hour for taking it on the chin. When we
Someone's got to represent the other
return,
side.
Dr. Dana Sinclair will join us. She's going to get into our heads.
We all need help.
We really need help. Bad. And Garry Galley, it's the National Hour coming up next on Real Kyper and Bourne. Do not go away. Welcome into the National Hour of the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. We are live on Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver and Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee with you for the next hour. In a few minutes, we'll welcome in Dr. Dana Sinclair, who you had a chance to talk to earlier last week.
Yep.
At a
Primetime Sports
event.
Yeah.
And she, of course, has worked with many professional leagues.
Yes.
Maybe as many as 10 teams in the National Hockey League on a performance. Performance coaching, which comes maybe on the hands of what we're hearing about JT Miller or Elliot Friedman, reporting that he may be out with perhaps burnout, which we'll ask Dr. Dana if that's something that happens more often than we even know about.
Right. Yeah, it's gonna be great. I'm looking forward to it. There's it's obviously a greatly growing part of professional sports is trying to squeeze that extra, 1-2% out of yourself. And she specializes in doing it. The list of teams she's worked with is extensive, and we'll, introduce her in a few minutes. But every major sports league, Olympics, PGA.
Can she help my burnout from the Leafs Hour?
No. The answer there.
Okay.
You know what will help? We just won't talk about the Leafs this
Thank
hour.
God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
You're going to be okay with that?
Yes. Yes.
But we are going to talk hits.
In,
sorry.
in about 35 minutes, too, we'll welcome in Garry Galley, former NHLer, close to 1,200 career games in the National Hockey League, does an amazing job on Sportsnet Hockey Night in Canada. He'll also join us as well. In the meantime, Darnell Nurse, speaking of big hits, is back skating with the Edmonton Oilers. And he had some words to describe his hit. Let's have a listen.
Yeah, I mean, he came after and apologized. I mean, yeah, there's, in situations like that, there's definitely an onus on the player with the puck to be aware of where everyone else is on the ice, for sure. With that said, even if you put yourself in a bad spot, there's lots of body on the 6'4" hockey player to hit, and not one piece was touched other than the head. You can argue about the intent, but there's certain guys in the league that each shift they go out there and try and go inflict pain, and I think it's pretty obvious what was going on there.
And that wasn't the only big hit that we saw this week. Of course, last night against Vegas and Sammy's Leafs. That was another one. We'll get into that maybe.
Please
with
tune into the Leafs Hour.
Gary.
No,
we'll get Garry Galley's
full
thoughts.
Yelling match.
In the meantime, as we said earlier, let's welcome in Dr. Dana Sinclair, registered psychologist and a holder of a doctorate. Is that right?
Yeah, she's got more degrees than you, pal.
She's got way more than me. Dr. Dana, help me out here. Hey, forget about the current players. This panel needs help.
Panels always need help, Nick. It's okay.
It feels better just to hear, to be honest. Thank you.
See, Justin, no problem.
Thanks for joining us, Doctor. We really appreciate your time. And I think it comes maybe at a good time where, we look around the league now and, not that we're privileged to all the information out there, but when we see a player like a top player like JT Miller step aside, and our Elliot Friedman talked about the word burnout in his situation in his latest piece on 32 Thoughts. It's got to be something that maybe is more common than we might know out there.
It is more common. I mean, everybody has to deal with pressure, of course, and everybody wants results. Everybody wants to be good, but it's not always easy to get to your best, which is why learning how to manage your emotions when the pressure's on is really important. And as I say, no matter who you are or what you do, we've all got to perform. We've all got to deal with the stresses that come with trying to be good. And it can catch up to us sometimes.
And is it more likely, more common for an athlete to have a harder time or be more prone to burnout for people who are more emotional? And, Miller in particular, we see as an emotional player.
True, but I think that comes down to more the individual and the performance style, the behaviors that they are built with. Everybody has strengths and weaknesses, of course. Some people are more reactive, more tense, less patient, more avoidant. So it kind of depends on what constellation of behaviors that you actually have, because we do tend to go back to our default behaviors when we're stressed. And, I say there's a couple of skills that can definitely help people out, but I don't think athletes have more pressure than anybody else in terms of burnout, actually.
So
I think a lot of people.
Doc, of course, everybody can suffer it in any forms, but as an athlete, the added pressure or the guilt of not being there, and I only say that because, people work at desks every day, but no one's paying $250 to go see them, perform at their desk. And JT Miller's a highly paid athlete who is supposed to be performing, and he's not. And what about the added pressure of not being there? What does that do to the athlete?
Well, first of all, I was going to say, yes, people like him get paid a lot of money, but they're also very good at what they do. So it's hard for sometimes a normal person to understand or think that so much pressure, and it is. But if you're really good at something, it's, something usually you want to do, and you end up doing a good job. It's just that when you are not performing well and you're thinking about all the distractions, the outcome, the results, what ifs, expectations, all those things, those can derail anybody.
So, over the course of your career doing this for as long as you have, what would be the more common, I guess, requests that people come in with? This is, a fairly machismo-laden world that we operate in, and I think maybe it is more common and accepted now to have harder conversations about mental state and all that. So what do you most commonly deal with when athletes come to you?
Well, most of the time they're coming, and again, whether they're athletes or surgeons or actors or whomever, it's all about results and outcome. That's really what's getting into their heads, and they're spending an inordinate amount of time thinking about that rather than being able to shift over onto what they have to do to get the results that they normally get. The other thing is people worry about their confidence too much, and people don't understand that talent does not ensure your success. It's your mindset, it's your mental approach. If you don't know how to manage your mental approach when the pressure's on, you're going to have trouble.
We're talking to Dr. Dana Sinclair, who is a performance coach with professional hockey teams, baseball. You've been around. You've dealt with some of the top athletes in the world, Doctor. But we also have lots of watchers and listeners who aren't professional athletes who can lose their confidence as much as an athlete. So what's the difference in terms of what you would tell an athlete opposed to someone else who isn't when it comes to losing your confidence? Like, what are the exercises to get it back?
Right, because you'd be surprised that confidence, whether you're professional or not, it's still the same sort of psychological barriers that hit you. It's just the nuance of a professional athlete obviously is a little bit different. But there are 4 basic skills that I love people to have a handle on. And you don't have to do all 4, but just pick one and do it. And the 4 really are being able to get calm and stay there. And it sounds goofy, but it's all about breathing properly, quickly. Learning how to do that, that's a skill. Knowing what your performance cues are, knowing how to shift your focus back to the task in the moment. It's great when you don't feel pressure. Everybody's pretty, successful, but it's when the pressure's on, wow, what do I have to get to right now? What's the task? If it's an interview, if it's a presentation, if it's a game, what do I have to do to pull myself right back into doing what I normally do? So though that's important. The other 2, getting a hold of your self-talk, being able to direct yourself well. And 4th thing is learning how to daydream better. We all daydream anyway, so why not be a little bit more focused on it and do it for short clips here and there? It doesn't have to be some long imagery exercise, just some short clips of seeing yourself do well what you've done before, seeing yourself composed, calm, dealing with the situation differently. Those are the big 4.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, did you say something? I was on the 18th hole at the Masters right now.
Yeah, thanks, Kim. So, you talk about this as like a results-based business and people want to get better results. What do you do with athletes who just aren't good enough?
It's the same thing, but sometimes they just have to realize that they're not good enough and accept that they're not going to get much time on the ice or that they're never going to make the big time. And sometimes they have to just let it go and move on. I do, unfortunately, no, fortunately, actually help people quit and hopefully at the right time.
Yeah.
Because some just becomes too much and you got to move on in any walk of life, really.
Can I ask you, just in terms of how important is trust between you and the athlete and you? And yes, there's a boss, and yes, you're getting paid by somebody, but where are teams good to the players to understand the relationship between you and the athlete?
No.
Or ultimately, are they going, what is going on with our player? Get him better.
Sometimes. Okay, so that is a good question because for me and the athlete, the trust thing is a big deal. Sort of the confidentiality thing is a big deal. And obviously, if I can't help someone quickly and keep it to myself and, help them move into what they need to without going around telling everybody, it's a problem if I can't do that. So yes, and I'm a very athlete player centric psychologist because it is about the player. It's about their best interest, not the guy who's paying me. So, a lot of times there are different managements around. I mean, I have been in all the leagues and most are pretty good. Some GMs are great. They just say, okay, do your job. Let me know if there's a problem. And if I do ever have to go to management, I always go through the player and say, hey, do you want to talk to them or do you want me to, or what are we going to do? So it's always with their blessing. And I should say the one time I got fired by a professional sports team or ever, it was because I just started. We were a couple of weeks into the season and management, it was the second time they brought me up to the whatever floor. And they were mad because I kept refusing to give them a list of player names and what we were talking about. So out the door I went. Didn't work out.
Yeah.
Well, if it makes you feel better, the Leafs haven't been in the third round. No, I don't know if it's the Leafs or not.
No.
No, it wasn't the Leafs.
Okay, all right.
Guessing.
The one thing we've talked about in this show, it was Thatcher Demko, who is supposed to be back sooner. It's taken a little bit of time, and he said something in his interview like he doesn't allow himself to get in a future thinking mentality or it sounded something very sports psychologist-y. How do you help people who are injured and trying to sort of maintain a sense of normalcy while waiting to get back?
Yeah, that is a tough one. Definitely. Of course, I love people to have a facts list. Okay, let's think about and talk about the things that had been going really well, why you're in this position, what you're good at, where are we at medically, when are you going to get the green light, and sort of keep them thinking about what they have to do, their highlights, what they're going to do when they come back. So maybe that, I don't know if that's a future mindset or not, but it's certainly a productive mindset. Mm-hmm. I think what people want to avoid is thinking about, getting caught up in their feelings. Again, the confidence, can I do it? Will I be 100% again? Well, most likely, yeah. We just have to have a little bit of patience and keep your head on what you're going to do when you get back.
Mm-hmm.
One more for me, Doc. Have you ever come across an athlete that has blown your mind in terms of how rock solid this person may be and they never get rattled? And it's like, does he have the secret sauce, or, what is it? Was it upbringing? Was it parenting? Was it a coach? Is there a secret sauce out there?
Well, you can never tell what goes into the mix, parenting, coaches, etc. But the best people that I have seen, they are able to get to their skills more quickly under pressure. And that really comes down to, again, their performance style, how they are built. And that happens early in life. We can all learn to be better at it. So don't fret out there, people. Everybody can learn to be better with this stuff. But really, it's being able to take action, be a little bit more assertive and take initiative in the moment. And it's about not getting caught up in trying to be perfect, because it's never going to happen. So you might as well just settle down and forget that script for self-defeat and go with being excellent or being really good. And, being able to take a moment when you get frustrated. So when your mind shifts back over to all those hot spots and distractions, boom, calm it down, shift your focus over to what you have to do right now.
And I will tell people, if you want to know more about that, Dr. Dana Sinclair has a book out called Dialed In. And I have read it, and it is fantastic, and it can help you, learn some of these edges that she's talking about here today.
So if the three of us just calm down and breathe, we should be okay.
Well, that's just a good start.
Sounds like there's more work. Oh, no.
Just a little bit.
Doctor, really appreciate your time and your insight, and, just bill us. Because I think this was
Bill Rogers
for us more than anything. We really appreciate your time. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, you guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dana.
Dr.
Thanks a lot.
Dana Sinclair.
Did you ever talk to anyone at sports related?
Yeah, we always had a couple of people, even early in the early 90s. There was guys around.
Mm-hmm.
And Jennifer Botterill had her dad around our team in the mid-90s with the Rangers.
Did you ever feel like you didn't have, like you were the same player, you just had lost your mental game?
I never felt like
you didn't have a whole lot going on to mess up, eh?
Yeah, I don't know. I just never needed, I think, to reach out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of just stayed in my lane and pushed hard, and I tried to laugh like Grabenkin.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
I mean, I certainly saw it. In the American League, people just burn out and just
tough. Playing like below and trying to get up, and you just see other guys getting promoted.
A ton of guys with expectations, and you're playing for your team, but you're not, right?
Yeah.
Like you'd rather lose and score two.
Yeah.
So there's this weird. It's a tough league for that, particularly making 10% of what the NHL guys are making.
What was the feeling when you play in the AHL and you see somebody go up ahead of you that you thought you're better than? Like, that must be a
fest in the
killer.
dressing room for some guys.
Yeah. You just kind of have to say to yourself, tomorrow I'm going to prove them wrong.
Yeah.
And you can't let it affect your performance, or else you're kind of cooked. But to Doc's point there, when she says when things are, the first thing you got to do is just go to your skill, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let your skill take over. And just being around such great players like, a 6-time Stanley Cup champion like Mark Messier, the great ones have an ability to go to their skill first, because their skill is their comfort zone.
Yeah,
it's their
that's
blanket.
a great way to put it.
It's
the thing they know.
It's the thing that they know and they've done it since they were 7, and that's where they're most comfortable. And there's a saying that the great ones can slow the game down. Well, they don't really slow the game down, but they slow their breathing down, as the doctor just mentioned.
Yeah.
And they have a way of not letting the moment overcome you.
Yeah. They, you get to that skill. The doc has worked with 8 NHL teams, 8 NBA teams, 5 baseball teams, 7 NFL teams, PGA, Olympics, TFC, on and on and on. So a lot of experience at it.
Wow.
Good stuff.
Did you want to go back to the nurse conversation?
Yeah, we should finish that up probably.
Yeah. He's skating again, so we could see action as early as this weekend. But, like we briefly discussed in our earlier hour, very fortunate the way his head spun, and there's a couple of pictures out there where, it could have been really serious.
Yeah.
It is pretty scary when you see the one still shot of the way his neck is turned.
Yeah.
It's remarkable that, he got up and got off the ice, and he's up and around, and
I guess it's just biological. Some people are just more prone to
literally
whatever.
built different.
Just very fortunate that he seems to be a guy who.
God. And do you
some
think
of those UFC guys take 6 punches to the chin? Just they're fine.
So we listened to the clip before we talked to Dr. Dana there. Do you think of Reeves as a dirty guy?
I don't typically, but he does have a more of a track record than I thought when I looked into it.
Come on, think about his role all these years.
You got to play on the edge.
4 suspensions. I'm not sure the number. I believe it's.
I think this is his 4th.
His 4th?
I think so. Yeah.
Hey, at the end of the day, it's just part of doing business.
That's the tax. That's the tax to be in the league, that you pay off your salary to maintain that role.
Yeah. And his job is to go out there and when Craig Berube's screaming, finish your checks, he's got to be the first guy to go, if I don't do that, I'm out of the league.
Well, and I think, you and I talked about throwing bad hits by accident, and you get locked in. I have to throw this hit when you're only playing 7-8 minutes. I got to believe that plays into it. I do think it's interesting that, he went to the Oilers' room, it sounds like, made an apology, and then you hear Nurse a day or two later doing this interview. He's still mighty upset.
Yeah, the apology thing for me, I would rather it doesn't happen. Like, I play beer league hockey in Toronto. Somebody's knee on knees, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." But like, I'd rather you just don't say anything. Like, you don't want to. Oh, you're sorry for running your shoulder through my brain at top speed. Yeah. You're trying to hammer me. Yeah. You weren't trying to knock my head off, but you were trying to inflict pain on me. Don't go and apologize. I would hate that if I was Nurse.
Fair.
Hate it.
I think that's a totally justified reaction.
Do you agree, Kip? Or
I don't know. I got a guest coming up next. I haven't apologized to in 30 years.
Okay, so are we bringing this up or no?
I don't know, but like to your point, I didn't go down there. I didn't go and apologize.
People didn't then, Kip.
I don't know.
People didn't then.
I know. You're right.
Like now, it's like everyone texts each other. Like you throw a bad hit,
you're all the same
very
age,
common to send a text.
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't want it if I was Nurse, and like I would get how pissed off he still is.
Yeah. In 1990, you'd have to send a smoke signal or something. I don't know.
Little carrier pigeon over to the other room.
What are you guys beating me up on my age now? I'm old now.
I don't know.
Listen, I got to tee up on
it's
something.
Been a reckless week.
Like I got to go Jake Paul against a however old.
Okay. Speaking of old, Ovechkin.
Oh yeah.
Right, out week to week. Washington going to be okay, you think?
Yes, I do think so. But it is, he was leading the NHL in goals, so pretty significant. Do we have a clip on this? Or I'm putting pressure on Sam while he's
Tom
currently
Wilson
producing.
spoke about him being out of the lineup.
I cut the clip, but I'm not sure if I put it in the system. So if I'll be totally honest, I don't think we have the clip, boys.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
But he basically was saying that we don't need to reinvent the wheel and that he's going to be around, and we don't have to overdo this. Is what he was alluding to.
Yeah.
So I heard the hope is he's back in the new year.
No, you didn't. Really?
Well, how far is that away?
I guess
in the
it's
new
only
year,
5 weeks or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes,
long. Well, that's a long time, Kip.
That's a long time. Yeah, it is a long time.
And that changes the record
week to week.
That totally changes the pursuit of the record because unless he's going to get 27 goals in half a season.
Wow, I know.
He was on pace for 68, so don't rule it out.
It does. This injury will shut down the chance for him to pass Gretzky
this year.
Yeah.
So I was getting heat for being a hater about the record chase here from Ovi.
So does he need 27?
Yeah, just goes, yeah.
20, I mean,
27.
Has anyone listened to our show for the last 4 years? Like,
it's not a new
it blows my
development.
mind when people are like, "Oh, you hate." It's like,
pull up their
correct.
Duh.
So how many games? Do the math. You're the producer. How many games?
Math?
Yeah, math.
No, come on. What do you want from me?
All right, I'll do it.
What do you want from me?
I want how many games, if he came back in the first or second week of January, how many games
Oh my God,
would they have left?
Over half a season, right?
We don't
so
have
like 40? That's how many they'd have left?
Could he do 27 goals in 40 games?
Yes, he was on pace for 68.
Yeah,
he had 15 in 18
but that's
games.
coming off
a janky leg.
A bad leg. He's been on. If he's off for 4 to 6 weeks.
Oh, over the holidays too.
Right.
Ovi's going to come back 10 heavier.
We've seen heavy Ovi in July, have we not?
The volleyball pictures of him out there in his barrel.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
It's never stopped him before.
I mean, he doesn't. It's not like he's flying down the wing Ovi anymore.
No,
he's shooting hard.
Yeah, the one timer.
Like he used to. Him coming down off the left or right wing in his prime was one of the more devastating things. The one goal he scored against, I think it was Kypreos, where he put it off the boards behind his back and then falling. Like he had so many unbelievable plays like that. Anyway,
so Ovi's going to have a Yager year when he's like 48 and he's still just taking one-timers and scoring goals.
So you taking heat because
I'm taking heat for being a hater on Ovi catching Gretzky.
Listen,
we don't need to do this again.
No, we don't. But
we don't need to do this again.
By the way,
there's not everybody's going to like to see Gretzky lose this title. I think that.
A lot of Canadians are rooting for Gretzky to maintain the record.
I saw a poll somewhere from The Athletic that was like 1% of people were rooting against it.
Yeah, people are I just want to see a cool thing happen.
We are like, what was that? The chant during?
Listen,
it's like, we are the 99%. We're the 1%.
He is the greatest goal scorer in the history of
no
the
doubt
game.
about it.
You got to celebrate
no doubt about it.
Guys.
And he's okay. Gretz is okay.
He's not, though. He doesn't have the most goals.
Okay,
Yeah, but it's
until
'cause
he
hasn't
does.
played enough
Until he
games.
does,
That's all.
he
He's
is
the best. And he also played Gretzky. He'd have 10 million in Gretzky's era.
Oh, come on.
January 10th would be halfway through their season. So January 10th is 41 games.
Okay.
Thank you to Jobo for that.
Okay. I think
That's 41 games?
if
Gen 10.
if
Okay,
he
I
looks
nailed that. I said I'm around 40 games.
Yeah, but we didn't know the date it would be that he was at 41, but that's about it.
I think probably in the first 2 or 3 games of his comeback,
Hat-trick.
we'd know if there's a chance or not.
Yeah, just watching him hobble around out
Hobble
there.
around,
Yeah.
roll around.
As cold-hearted as I am towards Alexander Ovechkin, and I say that very sincerely,
Yeah.
there is no doubt that the start of this season was one of the best sports stories in the world.
Yeah.
That this guy who is almost 40, chasing an all-time record,
Yeah.
was he on a 60-goal pace? It's unbelievable. And the NHL is probably devastated that's gotten robbed from him a bit, but
I'm going to get you to cheer by the time he gets close to the record, Sammy.
I got to tell you, bud, probably not going to happen. But you know what is going to happen? Game time. It's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. So tonight the Boston Bruins start the post Jim Montgomery era with Joe Sacco behind the bench. They are hosting the Utah Hockey Club. They are minus 140 favorites in this game. I can't really think of a bigger game for them than
They might need the dub.
if the Utah Hockey Club comes in there after who they lose 5-1 to Columbus in the last game that got Montgomery fired, and then they lose again to Utah. Panic.
Are you wearing a Go Club shirt tonight or hat tonight?
Go HC. I mean, I have a million hats, so I could maybe dig one of those up. But yeah, HC. That's a big one for the Boston Bruins, and it's the post Montgomery era. Do you think this is going to change anything? Like having a new coach, like a couple games here and there.
How
The boys are bummed.
how
I saw you
good
wrote an
are
article,
they?
but I haven't read it yet.
How good are they, really?
The Bruins.
Yes.
They're built to win one way, and the Stars were not like Pasternak was hurt this summer after the World Championships, and he's not looked like himself. He's on pace for 70 points.
They don't have top centermen.
No, they thought Lindholm was David Krejci, and he's not.
Did they not watch him in Vancouver?
Not enough. Not enough. I mean, when you're shopping for UFAs, I think you talk yourself into guys being guys, and they wanted Zadorov to be Zdeno and this guy to be Krejci, and they're not.
I'm looking. How many goals does Elias Lindholm have this year?
Like one even strength. I don't know what his
He's got
total is.
9 points in 20 games.
He's on pace
2
for
goals.
37
Yeah.
points,
Yikes.
which is the first year of a 7-year deal.
Yeah.
So if you're a Leafs fan,
And I said for sure that when he put on that jersey, he was going to turn it into David Krejci. It really felt that was going to happen, and it just hasn't. So,
yeah.
Other one I was just looking at tonight, Calgary Flames hosting the New York Rangers, and I just have to say, Calgary on home ice with their Reds versus the Rangers road whites.
Oh, it's an all-uniform night.
Maybe the best uniform matchup in the NHL. I can't think of it.
Flames.
I love the Flames. I love the Rangers. I think they're two of the classics in the league. So
we got to find a Flames jersey, okay? Because
yeah,
why
we
do
need
you
something
keep
behind
putting
me
up
here.
a Leaf shirt in our national hour?
Do you want me to
We
put up the
need
baby
7
Oilers
NHL
jersey that Fabro gave us? I don't have anything
7
else.
Canadian kits.
Somebody send us some jerseys.
If
you want me to bring the zigzags back in, I can do that, boys.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, we need jerseys.
Okay.
Why don't you go upstairs to the bosses and go? We need jerseys
Kipper,
from other teams.
I'm sure your wife would be thrilled for you to get the barrels of jerseys you have in your basement out. Bring them here. You got to have the best jersey collection in the world.
You got a Caps Kypreos.
Oh,
You got a Hartford Whalers somewhere?
I did that once 18 years ago, and my jerseys got stolen out of my car.
Yeah, we'd steal them too.
Yeah, they wouldn't be stolen out of the car. They'd be stolen out of the studio by me. Anyways, that was Game Time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's ever ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
And all you NHL teams out there, if you got an extra jersey, mail it to Sammy.
That's right.
We'll get it on our
we'll
show.
Put a Ducks jersey up. We don't care. We're crazy. No,
You
not
suck.
that was actually a lie. I lied.
All right.
we gotta go.
I've been told. Let's break. Garry Galley up next when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. The Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. This hour of Real Kipper and Bourne is brought to you by Bet365. All right, let's welcome him in. Garry Galley, former NHLer, 1,149 games. Does a terrific job. Sportsnet, Hockey Night in Canada. Gals, thanks for joining us, man. Busy week, with all these big hits. Sammy talked about Ryan Reeves going to apologize to Darnell Nurse, and I don't know if you caught our show Monday, but I kind of mentioned about a hit that I put on you, and I didn't have the guts to apologize to you, and I did it 30 years later, and I feel shame.
It was a very nice apology, gals.
Boy, it took you a while to think up that. Oh, wow, that was pretty good. He didn't feel an ounce of remorse when he did it either.
Listen, when Dave Brown came after me and started punching me 6 feet under the ground, I felt bad for sure. But you were always a gentleman to me and never made me feel like you hated my guts, and I really appreciated it.
It's all part of the game. The craziness of it is, like, I don't know if Reeves felt like he had to apologize, and obviously he felt like he did something wrong. It's like, if you felt like your hit was meant to be clean and you had no malice in it, you were just taking the body, then, it just turned out bad. You would go over to check on how the person was doing. I remember hitting Rick Tocchet one night and just caught him, and unfortunately hit his head on the dasher. And I went down more or less because he's, an ex-teammate. I just wanted to see if he was okay. There was no malice in the hit whatsoever, but the hits that we're seeing and that we used to see a lot more are these driving hits that have disappeared out of our game quite a bit. So when we see one, it's kind of like an eye popper. It's like, oh boy, like when Trouba runs over somebody, or Whitecloud last night, or Reeves. It's like, it's a shocking thing to people because we're not used to seeing it as much as we used to see it. So it's a bigger deal now.
And when we do see it, and I'm sure you saw the Knies hit last night and then the Nurse hit on the weekend here, do people truly understand what they're seeing? Do they truly understand how the rules are interpreted in terms of what the players and the general managers and the league want in terms of the do's and don'ts? Or do we still have to further educate, or even maybe go back and revisit the rule book, gals? What are your thoughts on that?
There's the technicality is the head should never be the main frame of the body check. You shouldn't be targeting the head at any point in the hit. So you got to start asking yourself, if you're the National Hockey League, looking at this hit immediately right away and saying, was he targeting the head, or was he targeting the main frame of the body and the head just happened to get hit in the process? And I think that's what I think they came down at the end of the day. That's what they came down to, was they felt like Whitecloud was targeting the main frame of the body. And unfortunately, the head, was a big part of it. And it wasn't necessarily the object of what he was trying to do. People are going to look at it through different eyes and have different opinions on it. Some people will say, that's hogwash. He hit him in the head. His head was first, and you'd have to break it down milliseconds at a time to see where the connection started, where it ended. But at the end of the day, everyone's going to have an opinion. But, physical hockey is physical hockey. And I watch games, and I do a lot of games, guys. And, a lot of players skate around with their head down. A lot of players skate around with thinking that the possibility of them getting hit is rare. And especially in the open ice, where we don't see a lot of open ice hitting as much as we used to. I think the one thing you have to look at, and the difference in that hit last night, was that he was being tracked by Colasar. Colasar was on his right side, and he had Knies' attention. So as Knies was trying to skate up the ice, moving north-south, he had Colasar to his right side. And I think that took enough of his attention away that a split second and Whitecloud just buried him.
Yeah, excellent point.
And that's what happens when you have more than one thing on your mind at once. You get a little bit lazy. I remember going into Chicago one night, and Dumba had just obliterated Patrick Kane in a game in Chicago. And we got in a couple days later, and I was asking Joel Quenneville at the time, what about the hit? And he goes, I gave him a couple of days off after that hit, not because he was hurt, because he was tired. And I said, what does you mean he was tired? He goes, yeah, because he doesn't get hit like that when he's not tired. He's got more awareness around him. He understands, like, he never gets hit like that. He goes, when Patrick Kane gets hit like that, it's time to give him a couple days off. He's tired. And it's like, sometimes we get in a game and maybe we're just, we're unfocused a little bit. And then all of a sudden, whammo, something like that happens. So,
Gals, who are the gentlemen or ladies behind you that just joined you in the screen there?
Oh, well, those are my buddies right there. That's I have two Bernie Doodles and a Golden Doodle. So that's one of the Bernie Doodles. He's the big boy. He's a 100-pounder. Kobe, and then Denver after my Broncos is my Golden Doodle. So yeah, they like to hang with me.
That's great. And I'm also I'm fascinated
Not many
by a lot of what's going on. Gals, is this your brand 3G? Is your middle name Glenn? What is the hat?
No, 3G. Three was my number. That I played predominantly with. I wore it in college, wore it when I played professionally quite a bit. It's been a very good number to me. And G's for Galley, so 3G Hockey Consulting Inc. is my company. And when I used to run hockey camps for defensemen and stuff and goaltenders, when we used to get band together and do that, 3G Hockey was the camps that we used to run. So 3G is kind of my thing. So yeah, so I made a bunch of hats one time, and I have so many left over. I got to wear them now.
Well, they throw a couple this way to the panel.
Yeah. We'll put them on set. So gals, we've been talking across Canada this week. The Vancouver Canucks kind of going through a hard time. They're without Demko. They're without a lot of players. They're without Besser. They're without Miller. And we just saw the Leafs last night win minus a lot of their great players. What is it about teams, what changes when you're without those top guys?
I think simplicity. I think, the one thing, and I'll get to Vancouver, but just the Leafs in general, because I watched the game last night, and the one thing is, like, some of the guys who are being taken to task for their play are starting to figure it out. They're starting to come back, like Benoit and guys that Craig is starting to put the thumb down on a little bit, because he expects more, and his expectation and what his expectations are and what the player's role is. I think some of the guys are starting to come back and bite back a little bit. And anytime a coach does that, and Kyper, you guys know this, like anytime a coach does it, he's looking for a response and what kind of response he gets. And he's getting good responses from guys coming back into the lineup that have been healthy scratched or sat out. And then he's getting this young enthusiasm from some of the players who are coming into the lineup that are getting their first taste in the National Hockey League, and they just want to do everything right. And I think when you're missing the guys that they're missing, and the guys that are left, like Marner and Tavares and Nylander, they have to understand that they have to do the simple things and the little things right as well. So what you're getting is a ton of energy and really good, smart play by the Leafs, and good goaltending, very good goaltending. So at the end of the day, comfortable playing in the tight games, which I think Craig wants them to start getting more comfortable playing in low-scoring tight games, and continuing to see a little more jam in their game. There was a time when something would happen and you'd have to count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. You get the 4 Mississippi, you're wondering, is anyone coming in here? That's not the case anymore. So you got to give them a lot of credit. They've made a lot of changes, and it's nice to see them playing well, even without some of their star players. Now Vancouver, a whole other ball game there. They don't have which would have been their number one goalie that would be in the nets for them, and their lineup is getting just it's like a death of 1,000 cuts, right? And a real tough one to lose Miller for looks to be a pretty good period of time. So that's really hard to understand what's going on there. Obviously an injury and maybe some other things that are going on, some personal things. So the Vancouver Canucks, they're going to have to move forward without it, and they're going to have to ask for more for some guys. And some of their young guys in their system are going to have to come up and take pretty good sized roles. And when a door opens up, man, jam your foot in it and make an impression. That's what you got to do. So I'll look to hopefully see that in Vancouver as well. But certainly tip my hat to the Leafs. They've done a nice job so far.
And we hope whatever JT Miller's going through, it's a speedy recovery.
Absolutely.
But gals, I'm going to throw something at you, and you tell me if it's hogwash or not. But we often joked in previous seasons about Team A and Team B here in Toronto, and I don't know if the cap has anything to do with guys making $11 million and some making $750, but with JT Miller out of Vancouver's lineup or Austin Matthews out of Toronto and maybe a few other injuries, there is a sense that you're now inviting more ownership to other guys. And, what choice do you have? But, like, there's been a bit of a separation amongst teams of the haves and the have-nots. And I just think that, it could be a blessing for the rest of the team in Vancouver without JT Miller, because the easy thing sometimes to do is just to go to your star players and say, hey, listen, if we're down, go get that goal. That's what you're getting paid for.
Well, yeah, I mean, and ice time is different. Like, time on ice is huge. I mean, that gets absorbed by the top end, right? So when you're missing a lot of your top end, your ice time seemed to spread out a little bit more across the board.
Yeah.
And guys who don't normally get the minutes they normally get. So any hockey player would tell you, the more that they play, the better they feel. When you're jumping over the boards, it's broken up in minutes. You're a couple of minutes, then you're 5 minutes without a shift, and then a couple of power plays and a penalty kill, and you haven't played in 8 minutes, and then you're jumping on and you're trying to create something. That's a lot of time for your brain to be rolling around your head when you're sitting there. The game is played the easiest when your shifts are coming quickly, you're jumping over. Sometimes you're not thinking. You're just letting your skill sets take care of it, and you're just doing what you feel is the right things to do. You're instinctively playing. When you're sitting around a lot, you think a lot more, and you ponder negatively and positively. So when you get on the ice, these guys are getting out there and they're playing shifts and they're killing penalties. Like last night, I watched a couple of penalty killing units. And I was like, wow, they're throwing them out there. They're letting them play. Chiefs going to let them play, and I love it. And you see what they're made of, and you see what they're all about. And it's still early in the season, and it's still an opportunity where they may look at the schedule as being maybe a little bit on the softer side. If you've had a terrible start, there's no such thing as a softer side. But if you've had a decent start, then yeah, you've got a little bit of a softer side to give a little bit more room for some guys to get healthy and give some other guys a look. And I thought the young guys for the Leafs looked really good last night. Gurbenkin, I really enjoyed watching him. He's a little pistol and he gets involved and plays bigger than his size. And nice to see Minton get his first. And Woll played fantastic last night when they really needed him in the second, and then towards the end of the first, when Vegas was kind of trying to turn it on, he didn't give them anything. And then eventually the Leafs were able to solidify it.
Gals, do you remember your first game watching, Craig Berube talked about getting 26 PIMs in his. Gurbenkin went out there and had a great time. Do you remember what it was like?
I do remember. We played Edmonton. It was scary. It was like...
That's a fast team to start against.
All the things, well, yeah, we played them 8 times a year. So like you're minus 20 before you even start, right? Yeah. So you gotta take it on the chin. You're going to be at least that. So the crazy part of it is for me was all these players that I was a fan of before I got to the National Hockey League that I was like enamored with. All of a sudden they were all on the ice all at one time. Like you're playing against Wayne Gretzky and Messier and all, and you get kind of caught up in it. But it went by. I just remember the game going by really fast. And it was a tighter game. I think it was, I don't recall the score perfectly, but I think I want to say it was 3-2 or 4-3 or something like that. And I got an assist in the first period. So I got my first point right away. So it kind of loosened me up a little bit. Nice. But yeah, it was very, very memorable. And I didn't wait long to get my first goal either. I think it was my 3rd or 4th game against Vancouver on Richard Brodeur. Long CNI slapper that went through. So it was nice to get those things out of the way quickly. So you're not really worrying about them, but it was fabulous. I mean, being an LA King and starting out on that West Coast and being in that Smythe division was really exciting. There was some really good teams, and obviously, we didn't make the playoffs in the years I was there. Like the first year we made the playoffs, it was the best 5 against Edmonton, and it was 3 and gone golfing.
Garry, we're running out of time, but maybe just a quick thought on a former team of yours, the Boston Bruins. I know they made the coaching change, but is it just the reality that this team is in a scenario where it's caught up to them, that they, after 20 games, we've got them as a mid-team and no longer a team that can win a division?
Yeah, it's funny how a team like just looks like they aged really fast. Right in the middle of the summer or something, it just the switch flipped over where some players who were really, really good last year, are just playing okay now. They're not really up there. The coach certainly was seeing his team playing under standard. I think he tried to, push hard to get them to come back around. He made everybody accountable. That's one thing I'll give Jim Montgomery. He made everyone accountable the same, just like Craig Berube's doing in Toronto. He made everyone accountable, and I like that. And it sounded like the players didn't have a problem with it. So, it's hard to believe when people say, well, they stopped playing for him, or there's a problem between the coach and the players. Well, there's always going to be those during tough times, because tough times is when a coach has to really bear down on you. I think that the plan looks like to try to salvage a season and still get into the playoffs, which they feel like is a good enough team. And maybe this is their chance to do it by changing the coach and see if they can't kickstart him. But it's tough to see a guy with that kind of record go down, and in the history of that in Boston for sure. But they've always seemed to come out smelling like a rose. So we'll see what happens.
Hey, Gals, thanks for doing this, man. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure,
Gals. Say hi to your buddies for us there. They look comfy.
Yeah, they're sleeping. That's what they do a lot of.
I love Gals, but I totally disagree with him in terms of Jim Montgomery and like the players being comfortable with. I told you when he benched Pasternak, he was done. You can't do that.
Yeah,
you can't miss. There's no way. There's no world where I live in that. I know they're saying all the right things and they're very sweet publicly, but you cannot shut down your guys like that and expect to come through.
Not at that point of things. I think you can do it when things are going well, or, early in your time or something. But,
he had the prior calling out Pasternak in that playoff series where it worked. We need more from him.
Was something too. I forgot.
We need more from him. Yeah. Scores the OT winner. It's like you keep pushing, you keep pressing. It's like eventually... No. Hey, you put up that jersey. Jen, can we get a shot of this jersey that we put up here?
Someone send us a real Oilers jersey.
Look at this jersey. Look at this. This is the most absurd thing I've ever seen.
Hey. Who put it in the dryer?
We're Sportsnet. We don't have one.
We are on national television, and we're putting up Ryan Fabro's baby's jersey.
I did put it up. Yeah. Quickly, Washington Capitals, did they come out with some news? Because
Kyper? From the Capitals public relations Twitter account.
Yeah.
Washington Capitals captain Alexander Ovechkin underwent further evaluation with team doctors. It was confirmed that Ovechkin has a fracture to his left fibula and is anticipated to miss 4 to 6 weeks.
Doctor.
Kyper, doctor.
Doctor got it right.
Good job, bud.
So Gals is like, breaking in with LA. And I was like, did you play with my dad? And he did. They were in the. How's that never come up?
80. When did your dad retire? 87.
My dad retired 88. He played 2 years with LA. Looking at this LA team: Robitaille, Nichols, Jimmy Carson, Marcel Dion, Dave Taylor, Jim Fox, Steve Duchesne. That's a good Tiger Williams, Bob Bourne, Gary Galley.
Galley's old.
Playfair. That's a good team. Tom.
When did you break in the league? 90.
Oh yeah.
You're just a spring chicken.
As you reminded me. Right.
Oh yeah.
That's a good team there in LA.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, I'm exhausted.
It's been a time.
God, I am really tired.
Full week.
I'm going to a concert tonight, boys.
Oh,
no, Taylor
not
Swift.
Taylor. Not going to Taylor.
Swift tickets?
No, I'm not
what
going to Taylor. Going to see Sturgill Simpson at Massey Hall.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it'll be really, really good.
We want
Can't
a full
wait.
review tomorrow.
No. It's going to be some crooning country with a bunch of white guys.
Did you book our buddy Doug McLean?
I haven't talked to him yet.
Are we going to find him?
I'll see.
Off the Rails Friday?
We'll see what he says.
All right.
The world is.
All right, just like that, we're done. Our thanks to Garry Galley and Dr. Dana Sinclair.
Very cool.
Very
Enjoy
cool.
that a lot.
Enjoy your night, everybody. We're back tomorrow for Off the Rails Friday. If you get a chance, give us a rating and review. We'd love to hear from you. Have a great night, everybody.